And we're going to start with our beignets. Now, the recipe I have for these says mix your milk and eggs and water first and then add your flour to it. And I thought, wow, I ain't never, ever, ever in my life been taught that, because I've always been taught to do your flour first. So I started looking and I started looking and I started looking. Every recipe I can find says the same thing, so we're going to do it that way. We're going to add all of our wet ingredients, which is 1 egg. Do we refrigerate eggs if we're going to use them? Do not refrigerate your eggs if you're going to use them. Keep them out for an hour, keep them out for 2 hours, up to 3 or 4 hours. The reason being, they come out of their shells much faster. They're easier to work with if they're at room temperature, okay? We are probably the only country in the world that refrigerates our eggs. If they're all still living, it can't be that bad for us. I'm not saying leave them out for 3 weeks, but if you're going to cook with them and you know you're going to cook with them, pull 3 or 4 that you're going to need out, set them on a counter an hour before you're going to use them. They'll come out of the shell much, much quicker, okay? I'm going to break the yolk down and lightly whisk this. And the only reason I'm doing that is just so when I add the milk and the water to it, I'm not chasing an egg yolk through the bowl. Okay, so remember, always break your egg yolks first. We're going to add 1 cup of milk to 1 egg. And then we're going to add 1 cup of water as well. And just mix that down evenly. Now, for our dry ingredients, back to this. I've already measured out 3 cups of flour, our sugar, and our salt. I put them together so I wouldn't forget one. And I'm going to mix all of our dry ingredients together real quick in this bowl, along with our baking powder. 1, so I don't forget something. And 2, because it's easier to mix all of your dry together and then add them into your wet. If not, you tend to get one thing that tends to clump. Mostly this will form really, really, really difficult balls to work with. So we got all of our ingredients mixed down. And we're going to add it to our milk, water, and egg. And this should form a batter. That sounds like it's about ready to boil. Now, someone had mentioned the Chinese donuts covered in sugar that you get at every Chinese restaurant. Like I said, they're more of a biscuit dough or biscuit batter consistency, so you can actually cut them. That's why they're all that perfect shape and that more uniform. These are actually a spoon drop method. And we're going to take 2 spoons, we're going to scoop out with one, and we're actually going to drop it into the fryer with the other one. And it's going to give you more of just a natural, odd shape. Can everyone see the consistency of this? Okay, it worked out pretty smooth. It's roughly pancake batter. And I hope that our fryer is ready. We're going to find out in a second. Again, I've been turning it on and off now for the last probably since about 4 o'clock. We're going to take 2 spoons. And we're going to scrape the edge, and you don't need much. You just want to do it in a small amount. And we're actually going to lower the spoon into it, and then take the other spoon and scrape it off. All right? The more grease your spoon gets on it, the easier this will be. Cast iron skillets work great for this as well. If you put about 1 inch of oil into a cast iron skillet, it gives you a much larger surface area to actually fry in. Working in this tiny little one tends to be a little tricky, but it works. And I am actually going to see if I can stretch this over far enough to where it shows up overhead. Okay? Now with these, you have to flip them frequently. And basically, they're little mini donuts. Now, if you have a fryer that works, or you have a thermometer that measures above 300 degrees, the ideal temperature for this is about 360. Now with this little Fry Daddy, naturally we don't have a thermostat control on it, so I guess I kind of got lucky that it's pretty close. You just want to cook them long enough to make sure that they're golden brown. They're almost always going to float because of the leavening agents in them. And you can see how much they've puffed up already. We take our spoon, and it's barely anything on there. Okay? Maybe a teaspoon or tablespoon on there. And once we get it in the grease, and we start to scrape it off, is when it's going to actually instantly puff up. And that's what we're looking for. Powdered sugar. Now there's lots of ways to sprinkle powdered sugar. Sifters, strainers, colanders. I like my hands. I like to pour it into my fingers and then kind of just sprinkle with your thumb down through your fingers. It tends to work the best, and I really don't like cleaning strainers, to be really honest with everybody. They tend to get really nasty and gummy and goopy. And since this isn't a science project, it's just food, we don't have to be exact. You want to make sure they get all covered, and I think they're about ready.